This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. It is Wednesday, November 13th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the first televised impeachment hearings begin as Democrats try to remove the president, or Republicans say they don't have the evidence. More warfare in Israel. The Israelis again strike Islamic Jihad terrorists as they fire more rockets on Israeli cities. A deep freeze across America with 200 million people affected by record-breaking cold weather. And with the holiday season here, get ready for some family-friendly films. We'll look at one of them called Christmas in the Wild. All those stories and more are ahead in this edition of CBN NewsWatch. We begin this half hour in Washington, where the public hearings in the Democrats' impeachment inquiry begin today. The televised airings of two witness testimonies today come as Democrats are releasing new transcripts from the previously closed-door proceedings. But Republicans are pushing for their own witnesses to come forward, and the president's allies contend the evidence does not add up to impeachment. CBN News Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson brings us the story now from Washington.
We're going to go.
The new transcripts are from October 23rd, the day Republicans dramatically stormed a closed-door hearing when the Pentagon official in charge of Ukraine testified the president directed aid to Ukraine be frozen.
There was no investigation, and the aid flowed as it was supposed to.
Former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley maintaining that even if the president tried to pursue a quid pro quo, it didn't happen.
Impeachment is serious. It's the most serious thing you can do to a president.
And it will be on full public display, broadcast live on networks, cable channels, and the internet. First up, acting U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine Bill Taylor, who texted Gordon Sondland, the U.S. ambassador to the EU, that it would be crazy to withhold security assistance for help with the political campaign. Then, diplomat George Kent, who said behind closed doors that the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, ran a campaign of slander and lies to oust former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, who's set to testify publicly Friday.
We do that all the time with foreign policy.
The public proceedings come after acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney admitted and then denied a quid pro quo.
The president asked for an investigation of possible corruption by someone who happens to be a political rival.
Republican Senator John Kennedy said Sunday President Trump's desire to withhold aid could be lawful.
Foreign aid by law can only go out to countries that are not corrupt.
Senator Rand Paul echoed that assessment, adding that Republicans should be allowed to bring witnesses of their own to the circus.
If you can't call Hunter Biden and you can't call the whistleblower, that's sort of a sham. That's not even really a trial.
Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Despite the hearings going public, few political analysts believe the Democrats will be able to remove the president from office. Conservative radio host Todd Starnes says the effort will die in the Senate.
I have no doubt that Senator Lindsey Graham will hold the line in the Senate. No doubt about that. I really don't see any kind of a game plan moving forward where a majority of Republicans in the Senate would join the Democrats to convict the president. So, look, this is really all about embarrassing the president. This is about besmirching his good name.
And you can see the full interview with Todd Starnes on our afternoon News Watch beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and throughout the evening on the CBN News Channel. He talks about an example of the major media's bias against the president and a new strategy Democrats may be taking with their impeachment inquiry. More warfare in Israel today. Islamic Jihad resumed its rocket fire against southern Israeli cities this morning as Israeli airstrikes killed more Islamic Jihad militants in Gaza. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Israeli communities within 25 miles of the Gaza Strip were shut down for the second day as terrorists launched rockets at Israel. Half of Israel, including Israel's second largest city, Tel Aviv, was closed down during the first day of attacks. In 24 hours, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad launched 220 rockets at Israel. About 90% were intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome, but a few got through, causing damage but no fatalities.
All those interceptions are miracles. If we could only imagine where those missiles would have fallen, on cars, on houses, on shopping centers. And of course, every time we hear this red color warning, we miss a heartbeat, especially the kids.
The latest round of violence started with Israel's assassination of senior Islamic Jihad official Abu al-Atta in a targeted airstrike on Gaza. Israel said he was responsible for most of the rocket attacks on Israel over the last year and was planning other imminent terror attacks.
Israel struck a ticking bomb, an arch-terrorist working under Iranian instructions and with Iranian funding to plan and carry out terrorist attacks against Israel. Israel doesn't want any escalation, but we will not hesitate to defend our citizens.
In response to the rockets, Israeli jets pounded terror targets inside Gaza for the second day, including what the Israel Defense Force said were rocket launchers and underground military compounds. Palestinians said 18 people have died, most of them militants. Israel's newly appointed defense minister Naftali Bennett said the assassination of the Islamic Jihad's al-Atta should send a clear message to Israel's enemies. He said, "Whoever plans to hurt us during the day cannot be sure that he will make it through the night."
I said yesterday we're not looking for an escalation, but that we're answering every attack against us with a very strong response.
So far, another of Israel's top enemies, Hamas, has not joined the fight. Experts say that will determine whether or not the fighting escalates. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Here at home, a deep freeze is affecting 200 million Americans. With record cold and snow from the plains to the northeast, the Arctic blast is snarling traffic and delaying air travel across the country. Charlene Aaron has the story.
It's an early start to winter as a powerful blast of snow, ice, and bitter cold blankets half the nation. That freezing air dipping down south, including here in Virginia Beach. It's not even winter yet, and some areas could see temperatures dropping to near zero. The wind chill today is forecast to reach 6 degrees in Boston, 13 degrees in New York City, 23 degrees in Atlanta, and 10 degrees in Indianapolis. From Monday afternoon to Tuesday afternoon, temperatures fell dramatically. Atlanta dropped from 67 to 39 degrees. New York City dropped from 61 to 33 degrees. Raleigh, North Carolina dropped from 69 to 38 degrees. Chicago approaching record low numbers for this time of year.
Try to keep my face warm.
Does it do the trick?
Not really.
It's so cold that it's burning my face.
Snow and whiteout conditions are wreaking havoc on the roads. In Ohio, this 50-car pileup on Interstate 80 involving semi-trucks and several other vehicles. Snow delayed or grounded hundreds of flights across the country. Snow, rain, and Arctic air are now invading the East Coast, with more on the way.
There's going to be a pretty fierce storm developing just offshore. We call these hybrid storms. They're not tropical, true tropical in nature, but they feed back and acquire very strong winds. So you folks from Georgia to the Carolinas to Southeast Virginia, this is going to be a pretty interesting weekend coming up with that.
Forecasters say some relief is on the way as temperatures are expected to warm up next week. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
President Trump is hosting Turkish President Recep Erdogan at the White House today, despite protests over the visit. As Chris Mitchell now reports, Erdogan's arrival in Washington comes just more than a month since he began a Turkish invasion into northeast Syria that has profoundly affected the lives of millions and the Middle East.
The day Turkey began bombing and invading northeast Syria, it made a promise to the United States. The White House stated Turkey has committed to protecting civilians, protecting religious minorities, including Christians, and ensuring no humanitarian crisis takes place, and we will hold them to that commitment. Now, 33 days later, eyewitnesses, including humanitarian groups, testify Turkey has broken each vow. According to Amnesty International, Turkish forces displayed a shameful disregard for civilian life, carrying out serious violations and war crimes. World Magazine's Mindy Belts is in the region and tells CBN News of first-hand accounts of atrocities.
Numerous refugees described for me have men having their hands tied behind their backs, seeing them beheaded. I had several reports of beheadings. and people cut in the streets and burned. These are war crimes. This is just an incomprehensible and seemingly senseless way of creating what Turkey calls a safe zone.
Belt says Christians were a specific target.
One of the Syrian refugees that I spoke to, and this was a Muslim, went out of his way to explain to me that what he saw was particular targeting of Christians.
Turkish ally, the Syrian National Army, has marked the Arabic letter N on Christian homes for confiscation, just as ISIS did only a few years ago.
But this is the first time that it is happening under sanction of a NATO ally. Seems like a complete betrayal of our alliances here in this region, and it seems like a betrayal even of our Christian brothers and sisters.
The humanitarian crisis is overwhelming, with northeast Syrian hospitals running out of supplies. The International Red Cross reports nearly 500,000 people may soon be without clean water after Turkish bombers took out a key pumping station. Hundreds of thousands of refugees have fled this chaos and violence, with thousands flooding into neighboring Kurdistan. There, CBN's Operation Blessing and its partner, the Barzani Charity Foundation, are helping the refugees, including 160 Christian families.
We're providing hot meals, boxes of food for the families, and the most needed relief that they need right now. Food, shelter is so needed. These families, they lost everything again.
Given that Turkey's violation of commitments to the United States helped create this crisis, the question remains, will the White House hold President Erdogan accountable as promised? Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Coming up, the Supreme Court hears an important case on whether or not the Trump administration can end a program that protects immigrants who were brought to the U.S. illegally when they were children. The story when we come back.
Sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
They're known as Dreamers, 700,000 immigrants who were brought to the United States illegally as children. They were allowed to stay and to work in the United States and be protected from deportation by an Obama-era program known as DACA. President Trump has tried to end it. The legal battle over the president's move ended up in the Supreme Court Tuesday, and the conservative majority on the high court seemed ready to allow the Trump administration to abolish those DACA protections. CBN News White House correspondent Ben Kennedy brings us the story now from Washington.
These young immigrants looked here to the Supreme Court for help in an effort to stay in the country. Dreamers took their fight to the steps of the Supreme Court.
Our home is here.
Her story is one the High Court might consider when deciding on President Trump's bid to end the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival program, or DACA. It protects young immigrants known as Dreamers brought to the U.S. illegally as children. Under DACA, they can stay and work in the U.S. with a renewable 2-year permit.
DACA has been an opportunity for me to pay it forward by becoming a teacher and helping my students understand the power of their own stories.
In 2017, the White House announced it would end those protections, although lower federal courts kept the program going.
We know, sabemos, that DACA is legal and constitutional because of the multiple courts that have already rejected the Trump administration's attempt to rip DACA away from hundreds of thousands of people.
President Trump tweeted, "Many of the people in DACA, no longer very young, are far from angels. Some are very tough, hardened criminals." President Obama said he has no legal right to sign order, but would anyway. If Supreme Court remedies would overturn, a deal will be made with Dems for them to stay.
When we think about our dreamers, we think about folks who are as American as any of us, who fundamentally have contributed significantly to not only our economy, but to our American way of life. And the Congressional Hispanic Caucus for years has fought to get Congress to recognize the fact that these folks are Americans.
Say it loud, say it clear.
But it's the Supreme Court that will decide if Trump's effort to wind down DACA complies with federal law. Now, the ruling is expected by next June when the court releases this term's decision, and it could be a close call with a deciding vote possibly coming from Chief Justice John Roberts. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Still ahead with the holiday season here. Get ready for some uplifting, family-friendly movies. We're going to take a look at one of them called Christmas in the Wild from Netflix. We'll have a look at our conversation with actor Rob Lowe and his co-star Kristen Davis coming up when we come back.
Yeah, I got the
On the Homefront.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Homefront, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Homefront. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Homefront, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
Holidays are here, and entertainment giants like Netflix are rolling out uplifting and family-friendly choices to celebrate the season. Actor Rob Lowe leads the cast in the film Christmas in the Wild, which is streaming right now. We had the chance to sit down with him and his co-star Kristen Davis for this sneak peek at the holiday film.
So you're vacationing in Zambia, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let me guess, you're from LA? New York.
Yes.
I take it Mr. Conrad won't be joining us?
2 days ago, he told me that our marriage was over. 2 hours ago, I landed here on what was supposed to be our second honeymoon by myself.
A lot of people come here to get lost so they can be found again.
Thank you, Yoda.
Holiday in the Wild, take me back to the beginning of you two's meeting. It's sort of my favorite. You don't like each other very much, do you?
Oh, in the film.
In the film.
No, we actually don't like each other for real.
Oh. It takes a turn.
It takes a turn. Yeah, it's you know, this movie has all of the classic, you know, hallmarks of those romantic, you know, movies, and you know, you have to start with them not liking each other. It's the hardest acting I had to do.
Oh, you're coming on this too?
Yep, Derek Hollinsworth, in case you want to write my name down on a complaint form.
Oh, you're the pilot.
We're flying over the largest game reserve in Africa. Hang on, gotta make a stop.
What? A stop? Where?
Stay in the plane. He'll come back. Poachers killed the mama for tusks. We don't do something to help that baby, he'll be dead in 2 days.
I want to help.
Didn't see that one coming. Hi, Mom. How's Safari?
Well, I took a little detour. Is he going to be okay?
It'll be touch and go for a while, but we will do our best.
I'm in this place surrounded by wild animals.
Hey, New York.
Oh, sorry.
What's it like with working with the animals?
Well, you know, it's her lifelong passion, elephant conservation. I mean, she's been doing this for years and years and years. It's the entire reason the movie was made in the first place.
Thank you.
It's the entire reason the movie was made the way it was. And so to help fulfill her vision was really, really cool to be a part of it.
And it's always amazing. I mean, the nice thing is that we got to film in 2 places that are actually rescuing elephants and re-releasing them into the wild, and also in amazing places which actually had the Big Five. And if they didn't have the Big Five, had giraffe. We had like giraffe everywhere we went following us. That's why there's so many shots of giraffe, because they were like, what are they doing? What are they doing? They were so cute. And that part is just a magical element that I love so much, and Rob embraced in its entirety, which was amazing to see. And he took his whole family, everyone loved it. And I think our crew loved it. I mean, everyone would like stop and take pictures. It was just such a unique and once in a lifetime, as you have said. And for me, also just, I didn't know if we would ever get this film made.
Wow.
The way that it should be made. And we're so lucky that Netflix and that Rob stepped up, because if Rob hadn't joined us, I don't know that we would have gotten it made. So I'm still pinching myself. And when I look over there, Holiday in the Wild, I'm like, oh my God,
It happened.
We are coming home, right?
This year it's gonna be Christmas in Africa.
What is Christmas in Africa?
Well, I can't speak for the whole continent, but here at the Elephant Orphanage, they celebrate all week, and there is no shopping involved.
Now, I'm really starting to worry.
This is an unconventional Christmas, if you will. Do you recall in your own lives an unconventional Christmas?
Probably. I'm a big traditionalist. I've had Christmases in places that don't seem Christmas-y, like Hawaii. Africa would be one of them. But I love the tradition of Christmas.
This is how it starts. You meet an elephant, and so begins the relationship of a lifetime.
Take good care of my elephant.
Our elephant! He and I were just friends.
I haven't seen you let someone in a long time.
If I have learned anything, it's to not get too attached.
I never meant to stay this long.
You're falling in love
Huh?
with Africa.
Christmas in the Wild is streaming right now on Netflix. And for more uplifting entertainment stories, be sure to check out tonight's edition of Studio 5. We've got a special show with 2 pillars of the Bethel music community, Paul and Hannah McClure. We also have a look at Ashton Kutcher's show to help young people dig out from under a mountain of debt. It's called Going From Broke, and you can see a preview tonight at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, Vice President Mike Pence honors the work of faith-based organizations that help children in the foster care system to find families.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
For more than 2 decades, the country has marked National Adoption Month in November. The goal is to raise awareness about the need of permanent living homes for children in the American foster care system. Vice President Mike Pence honored the tradition on Tuesday, highlighting the work of faith-based organizations that help children to find forever families.
4 out of 5 families have pointed to faith and church support as a factor in successful fostering, and countless families rely on their faith communities as they adopt and incorporate children into their lives. And I'll make you one more promise. Child welfare providers will never be forced to choose between their faith and serving those in need. Not on our watch.
This year's theme of National Adoption Month is Youth Voices, Why Family Matters. Time now for your Wednesday Word, and today's word is Word. Jesus is the living Word, and with the Holy Spirit, He's given you the power to speak the Word over any situation, and then watch the Word work for you. With that Word and His Word, make today a wonderful Wednesday. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Remember, you can always find more of our CBN News programs on the CBN News Channel at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen by emailing us. You can do that, newswatch@cbn.com, or let us know on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. Again, make it a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow.